and welcome to the Daily Space Weather, folks. We are streaming live to Twitch. It's twitch.tv/smAsho, and I'm currently looking at the sun here at 193 angstroms, and I'm touching my face, which is my new routine. I come home from public, I take a shower, and I touch my face 4,000 times, and you should too. It's therapeutic. Wash your hands, touch your face. Wash your hands, touch your face. We see more sunspots here. We've got SHARTICLES. We're going to even have Al Gore featured on today's Daily Space Weather video. We've got coronal holes. We've got a new sunspot that's formed up in this region, right there. You can see it suddenly formed, and we tell you daily that the magnetic environment can change with absolutely no warning. This 48-hour solar video, courtesy of the NASA SDO. Now, looking at the Stereo A coronagraph here, this is out located at Stereo A, not in between the Earth and the Sun, but months behind the Earth, orbitally speaking. And it looks like there's a coronal mass ejection building up here. And with the number of sunspots we currently have in the Earth-facing region of the Sun, don't be surprised to see a bunch of coronal mass ejections kick off here in the next couple days. We saw a stealthy one yesterday. Let's look at more. Here's helioviewer.org. And we're going to show you the fields here. The most intense sunspot is now this cycle 25 sunspot up here. So we're watching cycle 25 intensify, having begun last year in late August or early September, in my opinion. We'll see what happens. So there are the fields. We've got at least 2 sunspot groups, and I think it's 3. We'll confirm that by the end, as it could have changed while I was making the video. Here's 304 angstroms, and we've got some custom views here from helioviewer.org of the northern area, as that's where all the sunspots are. I'll leave that zoomed out to that scale there. Some significant plasma filaments dancing about there in the northwest. And again, the most intense sunspot right now is this one here, 2762, I believe it'll be. Sunspot 2762. So that's got the deepest umbra, and here's the magnetogram. A bit of an odd polarity happening there, but it is cycle 25 in nature, as the leading umbra is North Pole. So lastly, here's the 171 angstroms view, my personal favorite. And that little sunspot up there does have the darkest umbra. It's quite significant. It's not beta class. These are all alpha class sunspots right now. And the likelihood of flares is still low, but there is a bunch of plasma out there in between you and the disk. Now, shout out to YouTube for remonetizing all of our videos. We got an email yesterday indicating that 3 videos were cleared for all advertisers. So please watch our older videos if you haven't. We've got hundreds and hundreds of daily space weather videos, as well as other content. Excuse me. Have you heard about all the new symptoms associated with COVID-19, folks? Now, I've reported on a variety of symptoms very early on, and also all kinds of appropriate treatments, dating back as early as March 19th when we made this video. It got demonetized. We put it on BitChute, so check out exclusive content over there, bitchute.com/smAsho. Have you seen the Daily Space Weather Backwards edition? We give insight into how we make the videos. Check it out. We are on Twitter also. Got this amazing image of a fulgurite where lightning makes sand into glass tubes. And there you have one of them. Good times. So we are on Twitter. If you haven't checked us out there, there is exclusive content there, as well as all the rest of the social media that we use. Let's talk about assisting, studying, and reporting on the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics. Why is this important? Well, because with a lot of the astronomy cosmology stuff we do, you have to ask yourself, what is it that we're measuring? Something that Pierre-Marie Robitaille, Dr. Robitaille of Ohio State University, the famous award-winning, record-setting nuclear MRI radiologist, has got some new videos out. We're going to talk about it later. Here's a teaser.
When you have a big mountain to climb, you can't be worried too much about everybody's opinion because you'll never climb it.
When you have a big mountain to climb, you can't be worried about everybody's opinion because you'll never climb it. Speaking of climate, Instagram's got a decent climate. And check us out over there. We even talk about Phelps.
Coming soon, fish profile. Phelps, otherwise known as literally Hitler.
So the fish is literally Hitler.
Orange fish bad.
He's grown this pigment on his upper lip, which looks like a Hitler mustache. So we're going to have to start a new series called Fish Profiles, Phelps, Orange Fish Bad, literally Hitler. Anyway, folks, please get outside, get some sun. It's a good thing. Get some sun. Did you know that it looks like that if you view it from the pole? Yeah, pretty weird, right? Anyway, we're on Instagram. Follow us there. Exclusive content available there also. We'll talk about cycling. We'll talk about hazmat suits. We'll talk about Tom wearing a thong on his head and getting thrown out of a store. Just fantastic. Well done, Tom. His post is, "You believe these Fs threw me out of the store screaming at something about I had the wrong kind of mask, something of other. F that place, though, never spending another dollar there." Again, well done, Tom. Tom going out in all kinds of different masks in public. And for that, we thank you. Instagram.com/smashamash. We are also on Facebook. And if you weren't aware, Instagram is a possession of Facebook. It purchased Facebook quite a number of years ago. And I wanted to cite this interesting survey here, as early this morning, Facebook wanted me to fill out a survey whether or not they're trustworthy. And I selected not at all trustworthy, and they wanted to know why. Well, the reason why is because censorship and bias are rampant on Facebook. As we cited around Christmas of 2018, we even made up a song, The 12 Days of Facebook. Or was it The 12 Days of Censorship? Anyway, censorship and bias are rampant on Facebook, which is why such zombie companies are vestiges of the past instead of stewards of the future. It's probably too late for zombie corporations like this, which is why alt tech is the future of social media, as companies like Facebook, Google, and Twitter certainly most likely have more attorneys than they have coders right now, which is why they can't seem to learn to code. We're also on Minds, which is one of the futures of social media, so check us out there. Lots of views coming in. We haven't even boosted any of our posts, thanks to our new subscribers over there. And again, we are almost entirely out of tokens. If anybody could spare some, we would greatly appreciate it. It will help us to boost our posts. Now, yesterday we talked about Dave Rubin's new site, locals.com. If you want to check us out there, it's smashamash.locals.com. We said we were going to set up an account. We did immediately. So own your community, own your future. Join Locals, a subscription-based community solution where you set your own rules. Since YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter have inconsistent and unfair moderation, Locals allows you to set the rules of your community. If you want to be a pearl-clutching pussy, feel free. Locals allows you to do that. So you can invite anybody or throw anybody out of your house on Locals. It's all part of the game. Check out the Rubin Report. If you like Dave Rubin, just click on Discover up here at the top. And one of the featured channels is the Rubin Report. Click on that. He'll even give you excerpts from his latest book, which is called Don't Burn This Book. Just click on there, type in capital CLYDE1, and you'll get excerpts and photographs and quote cards and animated covers and all that sort of stuff. Audiobook clip. Here we go. I'll save that. If you want to read an excerpt from Dave's book, here's a little excerpt. What was once the side of free speech and tolerance, the one that said, "I may disagree with what you say, but I will fight to the death for your right to say it," now bans speakers from college campuses and cancels people if they aren't up to date on the latest genders and forces Christians to violate their conscience. So we're over there. It's smashomash.locals.com, and we've put up some relevant memes here. So welcome to our local. The URL is that, and a big thanks to Dave Rubin for creating Locals. We believe, like Minds.com, Locals represents the future of social media. Zombie corporations rife with bias and censorship are the past. We believe that Mr. Rubin has his finger on the pulse of the free speech movement, so we created a local for our web ring right away. One of the founding precepts of smashomash.org is to be agile enough to react to new science immediately, not be ossified, and change hearts and minds. One of the major obstacles to getting even relatively mainstream ideas to a wide audience is big tech bias. We're sure that Mr. Rubin has this in mind regarding Locals, so without further ado, welcome to another step into the bright future of social media. I've been saying it for a long time. Big tech cannot break the internet, but the internet can break big tech. Like James O'Keefe of Project Veritas correctly states, if big tech and the mainstream media simply reported the truth, didn't bury stories that do not support their narrative/political bias, and had integrity, this wouldn't be an issue. But since it is, we're happy to be here. Warm regards. Me, aka SmashoMash, from smashomash.org. So check it out over there. If you haven't checked out Locals yet, check out Locals. And we're going to bring up the latest video here from SDO, 48 hours of the local yellow dwarf in 131 angstroms. Part of the reason why we make these videos, folks, is because we view them on a large screen. We may make a half-hour video later, which features nothing but me touching my face for a half hour. Please leave a comment if you'd like to enjoy that content. 1,001 ways to touch your face. Anyway, there's the 48 hours view, so we've got significant intensification of sunspot activity here, and for that, we thank you. Please leave a comment if you have a comment to be asked directly to the sun or said directly to the sun. Please leave a comment if you think the sun is conscious. Please leave a comment, the sun, if you're viewing the content and you're able to leave comments. I would send you a keyboard, but I have a feeling you'll destroy it. 10.7 centimeter radio flux is at 69 yet. Expecting that to go up today. And the KP index has been pegged at 1 as we see a very weak solar wind. Let's look at the locations of things in the solar system. If you're wondering where stereo A is located, it's somewhere back here. Stereo B is somewhere out here. And that gives us a good view of the sun overall, although stereo B has been damaged since 2014. Here's where things are now. Here's where things will be in 1 week. And we've got another Doritos-shaped triangle here. Frito-Lay may be filing a lawsuit against the solar system. Not exactly sure on that one. But that's where things will be on May 6th. Next, looking at the LASCO C2 to see Venus, the third brightest object in the sky. Moving into view. And if you're wondering why it has those bands around it, it's because of a couple reasons. First of all, Venus is phasic, as it basically has a nighttime and a daytime. It has a dark side and a light side, as its day and year are practically the same time. It's got incredible wind tidal forces, and this is over-contrasted as the object is way too bright, and that's why it looks so freaky. Next, looking at a star chart, I'm just going to press refresh so you see what time it is. It's 4:17. Are you aware that Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars are rising before the sun every morning, low on the ecliptic? You get a great view if you've got a low view of the ecliptic, such as, oh, I don't know, the east coast of the U.S. Next, taking a look at the Gos X-ray Flux. We are seeing a small X-ray flare there, not even large enough to be in the B class, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some X-ray flaring, as that cycle 25 spot in the northwest is looking pretty deep. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some flares today. There's the proton flux, nothing interesting happening there. Now we see a very low solar wind density and speed now. So the BTBZ is pretty uneventful. Phi angle is pretty uneventful at 330 degrees. Solar wind density is noteworthy at 1.28 protons per cubic centimeter. That is a very low solar wind density. And you'll see the effects of that in the magnetosphere movies momentarily. Solar wind speed down to 358 kilometers a second. So now we're getting into electron storm range here. And we're expecting to see an extended electron storm. And we're going to show you the electron contents in a minute. First, 2 GeoSpace movies. We're going to look at the GeoSpace magnetosphere movie of the magnetohydrodynamic density. You see how low it is here? Now, I wish a couple of these were zoomed out farther, but it's probably impossible for that to happen with this iteration of the space weather modeling framework. There's 4 hours of data, and you can see that very low density solar wind shown in white. High density is in blue, and you can see the bow shock region is the densest portion there, which is typical. And we see a very weak magnetosphere. It's going to get a little stronger here at the end. Let me bring that back real quick. And there's 4 hours of data. You're going to see this weaken and then strengthen at the end as the solar wind density pops back up. So, quite sure we're going to see some electron storms. And if you signed up for the NOAA space weather alerts, you should be getting some electron flux warning levels within the next 48 hours. Now, I'm now 99% sure of that. And you can see that very weak magnetosphere there at the end. And it's going to strengthen up a little bit as the solar wind density has popped back up a little bit in the last couple hours. Next, coming a little closer to home here to look at ground magnetic perturbations during this polar excursion. Thanks to our new viewers out there. And if you weren't aware, we've got a North Pole over here. We've got a North Pole over here. The net North Pole's over here. And the South Pole's creeping off of the Antarctic continent, where it's already left the Antarctic continent into the Indian Ocean, creeping towards southwestern Australia. Not a lot of perturbations there, not a lot of induction happening due to solar protons, not a lot of a surprise. Pretty high magnetometer readings here. And again, we see a strengthening of the sun. We're going to probably see odd, weak, spiky magnetometer readings here, as we have a large plume of plasma in between Earth and Sun right now, as we showed you earlier on the Stereo A Core 2 space weather beacon. Next, we're looking at the top view ecliptic plane field plot here on the Gong 2 data. This is part of the National Sunspot Observatory, by the way. And if you work for the National Sunspot Observatory, please contact Dr. Pierre-Marie Robitaille. He would like to get some grant funding and do some research for you. And we're still solidly in the South Pole-oriented portion of the current sheet here. You can see that polarity shown in red. As all of the sunspot activity is close to or north of the solar equator. And without getting deep into the weeds on how that works, we'll just move on to the line of sight field plot. Now, both of these data sets here are 2 hours and 18 minutes old. Keep in mind the magnetic environment can change at any time, as we watched happen here with this sunspot suddenly appearing out of nowhere, seemingly. And the data's 2 hours and 18 minutes old. Not a lot of effect on the B field there, a little bit of a wobble on the east. So we still haven't seen the electron flux come up, and it's going to come up because that's just the way it works, folks. Here's the total electron content forecast, and again, within the next 48 hours, we're going to see some major GPS errors, probably even where I'm located in eastern Pennsylvania. Nothing yet. And here's the Gos Electron Flux. You can see it did come off the floor, just didn't get into warning levels or really anywhere near them in the past few days. Again, within 48 hours, I am 99% sure we will see an alert threshold crossed here at 10 to the third particles per cubic centimeter negative squared. That is electron density that we're measuring, by the way, folks. Next, we're looking at the real-time map of the F layer and the F2 layer and the F up to the F14 layer, it looks like. It's 6 hours of data courtesy Bureau of Meteorology of Australia, and the ionosphere has been looking wobbly here for a few days. And I'm not going to get into the physics of that either, as this is the daily space weather, and we're mainly just going to present the data. And we'll save the super informative stuff for the cosmology segments. And by the way, we've created playlists on YouTube to make it more convenient for folks to be able to see our older videos, as they aren't all daily space weather videos, so we've classified them to make it a little easier to scroll through the lists. There's the latest image coming in at 8:15 UT, and looking pretty anomalous. Charged up on the nighttime side, normal on the daytime side. Next, we're going to look at windy.com pressure maps. We're going to let it advance. It's the GFS forecast. We've got reasons why we cover the same tabs every day, folks. It's not because we're stagnated or anything like that. There's where things will be at 12 noon my time. And again, I'm located in eastern Pennsylvania in the Lehigh Valley. For you new viewers out there, leave a comment. Let us know where you're located. And let's do earthquakes here. We see a 4.8, nearly 200 kilometer deep quake at Afghanistan. And we've seen a ton of deep quakes there. We see no quakes over a 6 magnitude. There's a 5.0 right in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean there at the North Atlantic Ridge. And we're just going to scroll up the list here. And here's an interesting one near Bodie, California. We're going to show you the location of that one. It's at an altitude of 1,800 meters above sea level, right near Mono Lake. And we've seen tons of activity around there. That quake happening 1.8 kilometers above sea level. And let me get back to the list here. We don't want to extend the video too long, as we've got lots of things to do today. Here's a deep quake at Dominica. It's only a 3.8 magnitude. A second deep quake at Afghanistan, 4.2 magnitude at 117 kilometers. Deep quake at Fiji. That one coming in only about 40 minutes later. It's a 4.3 magnitude at 576 kilometers. Let's check the location of that one. It looks like it's actually pretty close to the island. And there's where that one is, out in the ocean. And if that occurred at the surface, that would be about a 6 magnitude quake. And lastly, the biggest of the past 24 came in at 5:37 just a few hours ago at Columbia. And it's another deep quake, a 5.4 magnitude at 154 kilometers. There's the location of that one, largely surrounded by mountains. Looks like a desolate region, probably not felt by very many folks. And it's time to move on to the volcano section. Currently erupting volcanoes include Kluchevskoy. It's producing a 20,000-foot plume of ash, a Biko, 12,000-foot plume of ash there. Also, flight level 7,000 there. And we got a new one on the list, Kikai. So I never heard of it before. I'm not a big volcanologist. I know a little bit about geology, but I'm not really what you'd call an expert on volcanology. Kikai volcano erupted, produced a 6,000-foot plume of ash. Kuchinarabu-jima, same deal there, flight level 6,000. Suwanose-jima, exploding, flight level 7,000 there. Sangay, flight level 20,000 there as it also explodes. Sabancaya, flight level 24,000 as it explodes. And by the way, injects a bunch of carbonyl sulfide into the atmosphere, which is an additional global cooling factor. I don't know if you're aware. Explosive activity at Sabancaya, 24,000-foot plume there. Nevados de Chile, an isolated puff is not an indication it's time to do a back handspring, or the triple Lindy, or a pole vault, or the Fosbury flop over Nevados de Chile. It could be dangerous to your health. And we've moved on to the, oh my God, I'm so scared. Bye. Oh, and by the way, thanks, sun. I'll see you soon. We're looking forward to the sunrise. Let's talk about Al Gore. He was on MSNBC yesterday talking about how climate change is associated with COVID-19. Here's a clip.
Engines requiring electric vehicles. Within 5 years, half the buses in the world are going to be electric.
Within 5 years, half of the buses in the world are going to be electric. Does he sound like he has a mouthful of caramel, or is it my imagination? Have you checked out smAsho.org? Well, we've got a web forum, and we like to talk about SHARTICLES sometimes. If you weren't aware, SHARTICLES are particulate matter expelled from the anus due to a shart or a article, often propaganda. Usage. Look at these sharticles in my drawers. Or phys.org's Earth section is rife with sharticles. So we've updated the forum today. Now, yesterday we put, we're on page 27 now. Yesterday on page 26, the last post there is each state's plan for reopening their economies. If you want to get all of this information in one place, 27 pages worth, head to smashomash.com/forum. It's in the free-for-all forum. Coronavirus section is pinned. Anyway, Al Gore science denier weighs in on COVID-19 and climate change. Let me read a quote. Because of communities of color, because they've had a legacy of being deprived of the same political and economic power to defend themselves, are way more likely to be downwind from the smokestacks and breathe that pollution in, downstream from the hazardous waste flows adjacent to the coal ash and hazardous chemical waste sites. And this is now being manifested in these horrendous death rates. In other words, COVID-19's racist. That's what Al Gore is saying. COVID-19 and the Industrial Revolution are both racist. Capitalism is inherently racist. Are you familiar with viruses, virology, the taxonomy of viruses? Well, we've put up a post about that from Arizona State University, picked up by SciTech Daily, picked up by us also. If you want to read about it, feel free. The virusphere, it contains a lot of viruses. And there's a number in here that you don't even want to know. It's, let's just say there's a 15-rank classification scheme. And there's a lot to understand about viruses, such as the way the herpes virus is a double DNA strand virus, and coronavirus is a RNA virus. And so if you don't know about viruses, well, we've put some more information for you there. And we've also linked to the video. So the video with Al there is located right there. His idiotic interview on MSNBC. If you want to listen to that, feel free. Al Gore is looking a little bit aged these days. And let's move on to phys.org. Since we mentioned them earlier in our definition of a sharticle, well, we've got some, and also an article that we want to cite. Agricultural pickers in U.S. to see unsafe hot workdays double by 2050, according to some ridiculous model. Glacier detachment's a new hazard in a warming world, according to some ridiculous model. Simulating borehole ballooning. Okay, deep water oil. All right, whatever. Lakes triple amount of carbon they bury in response to human disruption of global nutrient cycles. I'm not even going to comment on that. Global database for water use efficiency. Oh my God. Let's keep scrolling down here before we get more climate change articles. Here are 5 ways to flatten the climate change curve while stuck at home, even though being stuck at home actually allegedly flattens the curve. Researchers dig into case of geologic amnesia. Why is it that there are 500 million year old rocks sitting right on top of 3 billion year old rocks? Well, up on Pikes Peak, it's quite a mystery. And please leave a comment if you've got the geologic chops to have any insight into it. The Great Unconformity, where we've got 500 million year old stria on top of 3 billion year old stria with nothing in between. What could that have been? Some kind of crazy planetary catastrophe, I'd imagine. Links to this article not provided below the video, but it's on phys.org in the Earth section, buried under a bunch of sharticles about, look at what our computer model shows will happen to the globe if blah, 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 if carbon has anything to do with the climate. Next, we're looking at the jet streams of the eastern world. And check out the extreme meridional jet stream flow there in the southeast of Australia. We have a pure north-south and then south-north bend in the jet stream there. Next, looking at the western world, there are the western jets. Extreme meridional jet stream flow over the U.S. 2 deep bends there. Actually, 3 deep bends making nearly 180-degree turns is the jet stream, as well as being doubled up over places like the Gulf of Mexico and the North Atlantic seaboard. Next, we'll look at water vapor maps. It's Europe and Africa. Here's Oceania and the Far East. Shout out to our New Zealand and Australian viewers. Please leave us a comment if you're viewing from the Far East, or the Middle East, or literally any place on Earth. Please leave a comment if you've never left a comment. Next, we're looking at lightningmaps.org. It's fantastic. And what's going on in the south is not so fantastic because they're getting some heavy storms. This band of storms right here is making for some bad times as the jet stream pushes cold air down. And if you're wondering what causes severe weather, it's when cold air mixes with moist air. It's not because of global warming, folks. That's not the way the atmosphere works at all. And hey, Lufkin, most of the lightning is probably to your south already as this system is moving in a north to south fashion. But there's still thunder rolling in Lufkin. There's still thunder rolling. Impress your friends by forecasting thunder and freak out your foes and perhaps the natives. Lone lightning bolts striking near Rockford. Hey, Rockford, there's thunder rolling in there, but not as quickly as it is at Rochelle. Here's the animation of that band of storms, and it is bad times. We can't wait until this makes it into the Gulf, although it's probably going to strike some of the Florida Panhandle also. It might even sweep across Florida, as this thing could turn to the east. And that is one serious band of strong storms. We're not going to zoom in on that, but we will zoom in on the water vapor map. So here's the zoomed out water vapor map to give you an idea of the real path this storm is going to take. And you can see this dry air is having a tendency to want to go to the east, because that's what the jet stream does, folks. So also there's some compression being created by this dry air here as this butts up against it. And if you'd like to play tic-tac-toe with us, maybe we'll set up a whiteboard. Man, I'm terrible at tic-tac-toe. What is going on here? I'm about to lose to myself. How could I do that? What a terrible idea. And guess what? It's a draw. Who knew? All right, now we're going to zoom in on this area here because this is serious. Please leave a comment if you like to play with yourself. Tic-tac-toe, folks. Tic-tac-toe is what I meant. Speed that up to maximum speed. Check it out. That is a major system there. We've got major moisture surrounded by major dryness, and that's what causes the most compression. Yowzers. That is some violent stuff happening there. And again, it's largely caused because of this dry air and this dry air, as the jet stream dips all the way down to Arkansas. Fantastic images there on the water vapor map. It's the NASA GOES interactive weather satellite. If you haven't checked it out, hey, Smash Team, check it out. By the way, thanks for tuning in, Smash Team. Please leave a comment. Please share on your social media, as we are attempting to grow our operation, despite the best efforts of various entities. Now, if you've become a patron or a subscribe star, you may have already seen the GIF animation that we created today. Were you aware that the sun looks like that if you view it from the pole? Pretty freaky, right? Who knew? Yeah, it looks like a donut if you view it from the pole, as there's an enduring coronal hole there all the time. Now, we've got just 2 more days of entirely public posts on Patreon, then it goes back to a paid tier system. The tiers on Patreon are $1 and $9.99 a month. Throughout the month of April, the posts remain all public. So sign up there. We put up public posts even when we do have the tiered system back in effect starting May 1st. So sign up anyway, as when there's really important stuff, we tend to make it public anyway. Patreon.com/smashamash. The tier at Subscribestar is $3 a month. Subscribestar.com/smashamash, where all posts are, once again, public throughout the month of April. Here's a ringtone we put up yesterday, or you could use it as an alarm.
It is time to face the day. Shall I cancel your appointments and book a hotel for a month in the Seychelles? Very good, sir.
Shall I cancel your appointments and book a hotel for a month in the Seychelles? So it looks like this sunspot is evaporating. It's looking weaker, but this sunspot is looking stronger. So I believe that's 2761, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's got a very deep umbra, and because of the way emissions come up off the sun, it would be no surprise to see some X-ray flares from that. So I'm not going to forecast a flare, but it wouldn't be surprising. So a bunch of activity there, and we see, again, the strongest sunspot there is that deep umbra associated with cycle 25. Some more cycle 24 behavior kicking off here as well, it looks like. And I've scrolled, folks. All right. Anyway, there's the colorized magnetogram, and also some more magnetic organization happening up here. Something to keep an eye on throughout the day. And when I say ion, well, the pun is entirely intentional. Lastly, we're going to look at the 94 angstroms view here. It's a 48-hour SDO view. I'm going to actually zoom this in a bit so we can see the formation of that new cycle 25 sunspot. All eyes on that. And it showed up quickly, and it's looking strong. It's going to set. We might get some great 171 angstroms views of that. Here are the active regions in the south, as well as the south solar polar region. So a whole bunch of activity kicking off, folks. And by the way, this down here is cycle 25 activity as well. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive. And just don't drive, period. I might be out there, and I don't want to see you. And since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back.